There have been so many stories and legends being told on the island of Sodor. Most of them were brought up whenever long periods of fog and mist came, and the engines would bring up these supernatural tales. There was one story in particular that had recently been brought up, one that gave children nightmares in the worst way. Once upon a time, there was an engine who used to work on Sodor, long before Thomas came in 1915. The story went something like this. Early one night, there was a steam engine waiting at the docks to take his passengers home. He had a similar shape like Thomas, with 6 small wheels, except he was painted silver and had the number 0 on his side. His name was Timothy. He was an old but kind engine, with a broad smile and wrinkles at the end of his mouth. All the passengers climbed on board the coaches, and the guard blew his whistle. "All steam ahead, Timothy."
Sure thing.
Timothy was soon puffing down the line in the countryside, with the rails humming and the carriages clattering behind him. The moon was full, the signals were down, and the wind was blowing gracefully. As they approached the first station, it happened. The driver applied the brakes, but Timothy kept on going and shot past the station. He started to go faster and faster.
"Timothy, what are you doing?"
Timothy didn't answer. He just kept on going. Suddenly, they were switched off the wrong line, heading away from the main line. Then the driver and fireman saw in horror that they were heading towards a cliff where a viaduct was to be built.
"Timothy, don't! You will kill us all!"
The driver and firemen scrambled and fiddled with the controls, desperately trying their best to stop him, but it was no use.
"I will send you all to the graveyard."
The train had crashed through the blockade and had fallen into the ravine below, killing everyone on board. Timothy and his crew were also killed upon impact. There was no eyewitnesses and no survivors. The wreck was found by the workmen the following day, but they couldn't identify who the engine was due to being blown up and charred beyond recognition. When investigators came, they had very little evidence to go on, but the bodies of the driver and fireman were found, and they thought they had tried to save the locomotive and the passengers, but couldn't in time. Investigators ruled it as a normal tragic train accident with mechanical failure to the controls as the cause of the crash. Years later, the construction of the viaduct was commenced. However, after the rails were laid and the final works to it were being made, many workmen and railway staff reported seeing a ghost train rushing by, whistling fit to burst and cursing in a demonic voice before screaming into the darkness and disappearing. Many witnesses didn't know that it was the ghost of Timothy haunting the viaduct, but nobody really knew whether to believe it or not. But it was, according to those who had heard about the story. And every year, on the date of his suicidal accident, Timothy runs again as a warning to others, plunging into the gap, shrieking like a lost soul. The legend of Timothy's untold story was so dark that if any children were told about it by mishap, they would get nightmares and scream out at night. But the story was never revealed to the Fat Controller's engines until now. One foggy evening, Percy was returning home after a hard day's work at the docks. He was tired and in need of a long rest. he was travelling along a route which he knew of. It was a shortcut to get home. Percy knew where he was, even in the dark.
It should be long now, for I'm nearing Crow's Farm Crossing.
Crow's Farm Crossing was located near Heckenbeak, which was a small hamlet serving as a halt on Thomas's branch line. As Percy continued his run, the rails hummed and the signal lights shone green. Then he heard a whistle that was not familiar to him, followed by a voice echoing in the darkness. Children, children. Percy was confused. He slowed down and whistled back.
Hello? Is anyone there?
I like children. I like children. Percy was getting more confused. As he was about to cross Crow's Farm Crossing, he and his crew both gasped in horror as another engine shot out from the fog. Percy wailed out, whistling long and loud as he closed his eyes, expecting a crash. But then silence quickly fell. Cautiously, Percy opened one of his eyes as his driver and fireman looked out from opposite sides from the cab. No one was there.
What in Satan's name was that?
It looked like an engine, but that was no kind of engine, but it looked enough.
That was a ghost train. It's not like the one that we were told about, but that was so realistic and terrifying.
Then the driver paused. He began to remember something from long ago.
Percy, remember the time I told you about the ghost story about the one that I saw the night before and was to be a pretend ghost on television? I'm just beginning to think that possibly. No, I'm not kidding here. I believe that now it was not a fake story at all. It was real. I was wrong. The ghost train was real!
Percy's wheels shivered at the thought if his driver was believing the story that he had told him. But even he was starting to have second doubts about it. And he was still thinking about it when he made it back to the sheds. But just who was the mysterious and horrifying ghost engine that he and his crew saw? The next morning, Percy was still feeling shocked from last night. All day he kept on thinking about who the ghost train was, and whether or not his driver's story was really true or still made up. The little green engine could remember the time years ago he was told about it, and then telling about it to Thomas and Toby. Thomas didn't believe it, and later got a fright from Percy after his accident with a cart of lime. It all seemed like yesterday, but both Thomas and Percy had not forgotten about it. At the sheds, Thomas and Toby were being looked at by engineers. Outside, the weather had changed. The mist had come down, and it was crawling along the rails. At that moment, Percy buffed in after delivering the mail train. but Thomas could see that his friend was not looking his normal self.
Percy, are you okay?
Thomas, you might find this crazy, but it's hard to believe, but I saw a ghost train. It's not like any other. It's so scary and very demonic, as if it came from the underworld. And when I saw it, it was coming straight at me, and by the time I opened my eyes, it was gone.
That's some story, and most of all over the top. A ghost train that looks demonic? That's mostly something you'd see out of a horror movie.
Did you get a good view of it? What did he look like?
I couldn't tell, it was happening so fast.
Surely your mind was only playing a trick on you. Or perhaps you're remembering about the event years ago when you pulled off that ghost prank on me when you were pretending to be the ghost train from that made-up story your driver told you.
That's just it, Thomas. Remember when my driver told me about that story? He now thinks that it's real, and the ghost train does indeed exist.
Wait. This was all made up, and now years later, your driver's changing it to thinking it's real. Come on, Per. See, ghost stories are there for a reason. They're there to give us a scare, and not like in scaring us to death or something.
You can all go on about this, but that ghost train story that I told Percy a long time ago seems to come back and haunt me.
What do you mean?
The story that I told was for real. When I was looking through the documents of past accidents and incidents, I stumbled across one that had not been looked at in a very long time. The records showed about an engine who had a tragic crash and left behind a haunting story that was only have been recently told. The event happened a long time ago, way before Thomas, Percy, and Toby came to the railway. The train was taking passengers home when, according to the reports from the investigators, its brakes failed and the engine continued on going until it ran off a cliff, which was where the viaduct was built many years later. The engine crashed, killing everyone. But as the decades went by, witnesses claimed to have seen a ghost train running along the anniversary of its accident. Even I saw it, but I got a better look and saw its face. The engine had a very cold presence, one that I never felt before. He had an evil and demonic look that only the devil himself could describe. The engine had a number 0 on his side with 6 small wheels and was painted silver.
An engine with 6 wheels, painted silver, and the number 0. Who was he?
The engine's overall appearance was just like you, Thomas. And his name was Timothy. Why, bless my bell!
So the ghost train that I saw was him!
It seems to be, now that I remember it. It fitted the story of how it came together.
Timothy was an engine who looked like me? But I never saw him or ever met him before. How is this even possible that he can resemble me?
No one replied. The shed had gone quiet. Thomas was still in a state of shock. Toby was confused, and Percy was left with so many questions flying around in his smoke box. The truth in finding out who the ghost train was had been told at last. The next day, things on the branch line ran as normal. Thomas, Toby and Daisy took passengers while Percy was shunting in the yard. The branch line was getting more busier as the week went on, as the summer season progressed. Thomas soon had to do some yard shunting, while Percy took over in pulling his coaches. Toby and Percy were sent to take some stone trucks from the quarry down to Wellsworth, where Edward was to take it to the docks. As they watched the train depart, the subject on Timothy began to play on their minds again. Thomas, on the other hand, continued on taking passenger services and workmen to locations that needed repairing. By the time the week had gone, the engines were totally exhausted. Some days later, Percy was making his way back home. He followed the same shortcut, passing Crow's Farms crossing and going through green signals. Just then he saw Toby in a siding by a signal box and came to a stop.
Hey Toby, what are you doing out here at this time of evening?
I've been here for hours. The points are jammed, so I can't go anywhere. My driver's calling for help, and a group of workmen are coming to mend the failed points.
The old tram engine suddenly noticed that the mist was rolling in quite faster than usual, and the moonlight's bright light from above was starting to become blocked.
My word, what unpleasant weather this is.
Suddenly, he and Percy heard a whistle from another engine, which was coming from the darkness ahead of them. It was then heard again, followed by an echoing voice.
Children! Children!
Bless my bell. It can't be.
I like children. I like children.
Then they saw the shape of an engine silhouetting in the mist. They couldn't see the mysterious engine's face, but it was certain that it was the evil spirit of Timothy.
My reign of horror will never end. My wrath will be felt. And one by one, all of you will be sent to your graves. And then he will be mine and will join me in hell.
Timothy shot forward, shrieking out loudly. Percy and Toby quickly caught a glimpse of his sadistic face. They shut their eyes as they anticipated a crash. Total silence fell. Percy opened his eyes first, then Toby. They looked around, but no one was there. Timothy had vanished.
So, that was Timothy.
Yes, Toby, it was.
News of the encounter with Timothy's ghost soon spread down the line. But Percy and Toby were not the only ones who had caught sight of him. During the weekend, witnesses who were waiting for Thomas's evening train claimed to have seen Timothy, mostly scaring them and their children, as well as station staff and workmen. Something was happening, and it seemed that less and less people were starting to come onto the branch line and take the main line instead. Rumours began to spread, until one day, Toby was told about the rumour. Later that evening, the old tram engine explained all this to Percy.
Looks like your driver was right about the story of Timothy. The branch line has lost many visitors. It looks like Timothy's ghost has been scaring them away. The driver says he comes running through the darkness as a warning to others. But what's with the warning? Who is he after, and what's his purpose in haunting our line? Oh, that makes me shudder to think of it.
Oh my goodness! If the story that my driver's mentioned is true, then all this time we've been running the branch line that has been haunted after all this time with an evil ghost that he never heard of.
Fine rain fell, with a slight hear of thunder and lightning. For the rest of the night, it rained, and it would continue to do so for a couple of days. However, Thomas began to think about the story of Timothy, for it had been playing on his mind for some time. The little blue engine was now lost with questions he wanted answering, but there was a part of him that made him not to believe in all this.
I was once told about it, but I never believed it. I thought it was some made-up tale to play in our minds. However, we were wrong.
So the story really is true?
I can't be sure, but if this ghost story is, and that this incident about our engine who had a similar appearance like you then
what? Are you trying to say that Timothy is somehow related to me?
For the rest of the afternoon, Thomas quietly worked and said nothing to anyone. The thought of thinking that Timothy was a more darker form of himself soon overwhelmed him, until it made him ill. Edward took him to the works to be looked at, while Toby and Percy did most of the works alone. Several weeks had passed, and there seemed to be no more signs of Timothy's evil spirit. But as the old saying goes, this was just the calm before the storm.
The future generations that live on this island don't even know who I am or know of my existence. If those who do remember me have either chosen or forgotten, or even refused to even remember me, I'll force them to. The emotions I went through, the suffering, depression, hatred, why can't it leave? Soon the other engines are gonna feel my raft. One by one, they will fall. Then, once everything is done, once everybody has fully relived my hell, I will fully complete my mission. Soon the railway will come to know and understand why I am the ghost train of Sodor.
What's going on?
We already know!
It's him. Timothy's out there.
So you sense my presence. The years of haunting this lie. The years of haunting an island that has changed in the wake of my demise still hasn't understood about me and why I did the unthinkable. Taking human lives. You can't see nor feel what I'm going through. This railway will soon be forgotten, just like me. The past of an era that I led the way for my kind of engines. The LB and SCRE2s. I was meant to be a really useful engine, but I was not worthy. I let the others have the pride and joy, while I became nothing more but a stepping stone. I hated it. I hated everything that this railway represents. Even after my so-called accident, I still see no change. I see the same faces, the same people. This is a worthless railway. I will send you all to your graves. And then he, the one who is able to survive and live on, will go with me into hell.
He came again!
He's talking about send him down with him. Just who is it that he's talking about?
I know. I know who he's after.
Thomas, are you okay?
I know who he's after. Me.
What? He's after you?
But why? What does Timothy want with you?
I didn't want to believe it, but now I do. I believe that ghost train story was real, and that there was an engine, and that once ran on this railway before I came here in 1915, but I was too young to even know, or even remember back then. But now, it all makes sense. Timothy is after me, and he wants me gone. He wants me gone from this world!
After now realizing that Timothy's ghost was after Thomas, Toby and Percy were deeply worried about him. But despite this evil threat, Thomas dug down deep inside his boiler to show that he was not going to be defeated by someone who was a near identical image of himself.
They've never understood the reason of what I did. My so-called accident has been told time and time again, yet they fail to understand it. My kind no longer exists. All except one has survived. Why did it have to happen? Why did he survive? Does he still remember me? Has he forgotten? I don't want him or anybody else to forget. My legendary reign of horror won't end. No, it won't. The island of Soto's nightmares are far from over.
Thomas had spent most of the next day working on the main line with Gordon, Henry and James in helping them with the heavy express trains. Later that evening, he took some coal trucks to the docks and then some shunting before he went to take a group of workmen to the viaduct, which was in need of inspection. The little blue engine was now feeling tired and worn out. He then headed into a siding where he had to let James pass through with the express. Soon, Thomas was out of the siding and turned off the main line, heading back onto the branch line. But as he got closer to home, the fog came down, very thick and heavy. The driver and fireman found it very hard to see from the cab windows, or even by looking out. Then, out of the bloom, a much thicker layer of fog flooded in and totally blinded Thomas and his crew. With quick thinking, the driver slowed him down and brought him to a standstill.
We'll wait here until the fog clears.
Good idea. There's no way we're going to continue on in this.
Thomas agreed as well, but only after a few minutes, he and his crew could hear the sounds of another engine approaching. But the fog was just so thick that he couldn't tell whether it was coming from behind or in front of him. Then he heard its whistle. At first, Thomas felt very afraid and tensed, but he managed to put on a brave face as the sound got louder and louder. Thomas looked ahead of him, and there he was, the ghost of Timothy.
Timothy, you are real.
Hello, Thomas. We finally meet, face to face, as if we were destined to.
So the rumors and stories about you are true.
Ah, so you have heard of me. But you've forgotten, or perhaps chose to forget, that I was the one who led the way for you. You and your brothers and sisters. I was the first of our kind to become the best. But no, I wasn't. You soon came into being and took that place.
I was too young to even know you. Besides, we never spoke, nor were friends. So, how can you say all that? All I know of you is that you kept lonely, but always smiled to everyone. But I guess you never liked that in the inside, were you? The last time I was told about you is that you went to Sodor, and that was it. You became nothing more but a forgotten memory. But Timothy, you do know that I'm the last of my surviving brothers and sisters. I still live because I'm important to people. I was special and had the pride of a tank engine. Something that you once had before. And before you came this evil and twisted freak of misery. A dark side of a near mirror image of my very self. I carry the memories of that fact that my own kind was most likely wiped out and I was the only one to survive. That scarred me for life. I lost everything. The feelings of love that made me and my brothers and sisters had for each other as a family. It was all destroyed. I've hidden all this away, but until now, with you doing all this haunting and terrifying the branch line, and now at last seeing you in person, has brought all of those memories back.
That's right. All the memories you want to forget. All the feelings you didn't want to accept. You have to remember me. Let's suffer together. Suffer with me.
No, I won't allow you to. My friends told me all about your past. You killed yourself for nothing, all for nothing, and you wasted yourself. The truth of your demise is just that, or was, the fact that you somehow grew tired of yourself and decided to end your life that way.
Shut up. Shut up. You don't know anything. You don't even know the real truth. That was not everything. That wasn't the end. Don't you think you know what happened? Just because you heard about my haunted past, Thomas. You don't know my suffering. You don't know sorrow. You don't know the faces that trembled in fear, even though they were innocent lies that meant cruel end to their lives. The terrifying pleading from my driver, telling me not to go over the cliff. The passengers who went with me, the men, the women, and the children. They all died with me. The negative emotions I had boiling up inside me, and my own self forced that suffering into me. All the hate, paining, and sadness, and that suffering. Yet I have to continue to live with it. So yet, how can you say that you think and pretend to feel all those terrible things I did and understand me at all?
I can tell you're in pain and in deep suffering, and I want to know the real reasoning of all this, Timothy. What made you go to such tragic lengths to do what you did? None of my brothers or sisters of the E2 class ever did this. Tell me, Timothy, what caused you to kill yourself? Tell me!
Thomas. The truth of my demise will never be known by those who are told, for I took that with me along with my victims. But all of them, except one, were unfortunate.
All but one? You're saying you had an enemy who hated you?
You see, I was only a prototype for the rest of the class of E2 class when we were introduced in 1913. I was used a lot and showed we could be useful and reliable. I, on the other hand, was never to have had a service life that you and the others had. But I was wrong. I was kept with the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway and got to do passenger trains and freight work. Even if I did a little work, I still considered it a big deal and worth doing. You and I never met much and barely spoke, but we would exchange whistle salutes as we passed by. And towards the end of 1913, I was put to the side and retired. But that was short-lived, and I was handed over to Sodor to help with the railway's growth. But I was in terrible shape, and being used so long, my parts were worn, and at the time was difficult to repair. But what was worst of all was the way I was treated by the old controller. Throughout 1914, before the outbreak of World War I, I was treated badly by the people who did not know how to drive us engines properly. But that was because the controller assigned them to do that, to make them look like professional crew members. I never had any accidents while this happened, but I was so angry and embarrassed that I rapidly lost my pride and faith in who I was, and I went into a deep depression. Around early 1914, I was scolded and looked down by the old controller. The fact was that he never really understood how to run a railway and was only into money and greed. He later told me that after I was to take a night passenger train, I was going to be withdrawn and later sold for scrap. Mainly due to my parts being so old and overused a lot, and not getting enough repairs done correctly. At this point, I was so upset and enraged, my pain running out of control, and started to plot my revenge against the controller. I didn't know it until I left, but he was on board the coaches along with other passengers. Deep down, I knew what I was going to do, and it would cost me a heavy price. As I neared the station on my journey, my driver applied the brakes. But they failed and I sped up, going faster and faster. I refused to listen to my driver's pleas to stop, and after I got turned onto the wrong track and saw I was heading towards a cliff, I gave in to my hatred and pain and shouted out my last words, cursing and falling to my death, taking every soul with me, including the controller who made my life a living hell.
So, that's it. That's the reason why all this has happened ever since. You wanted revenge on the old controller who once used to rule this railway for treating you like the way he did. In the end, you got your revenge, but it cost you your own life. And all those people. I understand it. I understand the pain and rage you had to suffer from. But surely, deep down, you had to regret what you did in shame and remorse. Those other people didn't deserve to die, and neither did your crew. It's time you put all this to an end and move on, Timothy. It's not worth being in this state of evil that you've been in for all these decades.
Once I'm done with you, I will be sending you and your crew down into eternal damnation with me!
Timothy, you're being controlled by that inner demon. Fight it off. Break free.
You cannot stop me! I will send you to hell! You can't prevent me from completing my quest! The end is upon you! What? But how? No. No. Curse you! Curse you, Thomas!
Days later, the branch line began to fall on hard times. Less passengers started coming, and freight was being delivered by road rather than rail. Financials in keeping the line open was growing badly, and the fat controller had become frustrated. So frustrated that he would have no choice but to close the branch line. The threat of this happening deeply affected Thomas, Percy, and Toby. They didn't want this line to go, knowing that they had known it for a long time, and without it, they would have nothing left. That evening in the sheds, Thomas soon thought about Timothy, and badly felt that he had failed in trying to reason to him into understanding of how he ended his life a long time ago, and haunting the line since. But his last encounter with him had made him wonder if there was some good left in him.
He may have tried to defeat me once, but he won't a second time. This time, I will get to him and try to save him to turn him back to the good side.
Thomas is suicidal! Timothy is so lost in his sick mind, he's mad that he wants you dead!
I was able to get to him. I saw that he still had some good left in him, but his darkness retook control. However, I'm going to end this one way or another.
The blue tank engine started to make a plan and asked Percy and Toby to come and help him out, much to their fear of not wanting to. The plan was to find Timothy and lure him out. Once he got distracted, Thomas would see his opportunity to put him in his place and end his reign of horror. Then the sound of Timothy's whistle was heard. Thomas saw him from the shed window, rushing by, whistling long and loudly, and then fading into the darkness.
Do you think he knows?
No, but whatever is going through that twisted and sick mind of his good side has got to be fighting against him. It has to be driving him insane.
Insane? He's more than just that. He's more like psychotic and deranged.
That may be, but deep down, Timothy's fighting with his demons, but in the end, it will be over. We can help him and save him, but at what cost? That I can't tell.
The three engines had a hard night sleeping, but they were able to get through to the next day. But there was no telling what would happen when they would come face to face with Timothy, the ghost train of Sodor. The next day the sun shone, but there were very few passengers coming to the branch line. The financial problems were getting worse, and if nothing was done within the next few weeks, the line would close. Thomas was taking on water at the water tower when Percy shunted in with some empty trucks. He could see his best friend was sad, thinking that this could be the final days of working on his branch line.
If the outcome does happen, we'll have to move on. But the main thing is that we'll still have each other. Our friendship will last forever.
Thomas could only look at the small green engine and sighed. A few more days went by, and by sheer luck, the Fat Controller was able to sort out the financial troubles and help raise enough money to get the branch line back in full swing. However, the number of passengers was still lacking, but it had slowly increased. Freight work was slowly rising in success, and Percy and Toby were pleased to see that the line was still in operation. Thomas, meanwhile, was too busy thinking about the plan he had set for his next encounter with Timothy's evil spirit. One afternoon, the engine's crew were eating their meals on a small table near the sheds.
Hey, what day is it?
Thomas's fireman took out his small calendar from his pocket and looked.
My God!
What's wrong? My God, it's day of the anniversary of Timothy's accident. That means tonight he's gonna come.
Thomas, Percy and Toby overheard this and gasped.
Oh my goodness! They'll come running down the line, plunging into the gap and shrieking like a lost soul!
Percy, you just said the same words that you told me when you first mentioned that story a long time ago, and yet years later you still remember them.
Yes, but Timothy won't come to warn us. He's gonna come and take you and send you to hell. That's what he said.
No, he won't. We will defeat him and end this madness. Tonight, we put our plan into action and stop him.
As the sun faded and darkness closed in, the three engines could sense that this would be a horrifying night. Nighttime finally came. The moon was full, and the stars twinkled in the sky. The fog soon came down, and fast. Thomas, Percy and Toby soon split up and waited for the ghost of Timothy to emerge. Percy headed off on the shortcut route to get to the docks. When he got there, his driver and fireman heard a whistle, followed by a sadistic laughter.
Oh no, it's Timothy!
And so it is.
There was Timothy, looking so evil, twisted, demented, and very psychotic. His eyes beaming with red and his zombie-like teeth grinning from both sides of his mouth. Behind him were the coaches, the very same ones he pulled with him on the day of his suicidal crash. Inside them were the shadowy shapes of the passengers that died with him.
Who's next, Timothy? Sure thing!
Quick! He's coming after us!
But you can't hide!
Back off! Back off!
I think we lost him.
We haven't lost him! He's still on to us!
Timothy's laughter came, and it sounded like he was coming in closer from behind. Percy wasted no time and was on the move again. He crossed Crow's Farms Crossing, past Hackenbeak, and arrived at the big station where Toby was waiting.
He's coming!
So I can hear.
The time is nearing. I will finish what I started years ago. We are going to end this madness, and we'll be going straight to hell.
As the engines continued to fly along, they got turned off onto a different line. But the ghost train was nowhere to be seen. They thought they had lost him, when suddenly they heard him whistling loudly from behind in the distance. But then another whistle was heard.
Leave this to me. Timothy's so messed up in the smoke box that he'll have no idea what's about to happen.
I am not going without taking showdown with me. Prepare to be sent to the graveyard, Thomas, for your death has come at the hands of Timothy, the ghost train of showdown.
And your death came at the hands of Thomas the Tank Engine.
Thomas knew that this had to be done to end Timothy's reign of horror. Hours later, Percy, Thomas and Toby stayed in the sheds. None of them could even speak to one another after what they had just gone through. Even their drivers and firemen could not get over the night's event as they went to sleep in the workman's hut. This was a night of horror that they hoped to forget forever. The next morning, the Fat Controller arrived at the sheds. He had a very mixed expression on his face.
Thomas, Percy, and Toby, I bring some good news about the branch line. Passengers and freight have rose back to normal and your work here will continue as always. I am also pleased to say that the campaign raising money to fund the line was a success, and now more visitors will be coming. However, last night the viaduct had been severely damaged, and it's broken in half. Major repairs will have to be carried out, and I want you three to help out. This will cause problems with the mainline engines, but I'll find a way to solve this.
The three engines were surprised to see that the Fat Controller did not find out about what really happened. They looked at each other and sighed. Repairs to the viaduct took longer than expected, and it would take a year and a half for it to be completed and reopened for the mainline engines. But as the last 6 months went by, before the viaduct was scheduled to be reused, workmen and railway staff had reported seeing what looked to be a ghost train, whistling fit to burst before it disappeared into the darkness. Rumours and speculations quickly spread, and it wasn't long before the subject of Timothy's ghost was mentioned. The Fat Controller had been told about the story of Timothy. He was surprised and felt the cold chills within him, and said that he had never heard about it before and didn't even know who Timothy was. Edward, who was taking a slow train, had heard everything and puffed away. Hearing about the ghost train story had brought back some old memories that he almost forgot about. Edward met up with Thomas, Percy, and Toby and told them about his encounter with the ghost train. But his version of it was not the same as the one that many had heard about before, and the three engines were very confused and stuck to their version of the events. Edward, on the other hand, was quite convinced that there was more to the story than anyone had first thought. When at last the time came to reopen the viaduct, the Fat Controller came to witness it being reused.
Where will Timothy go now, sir?
Perhaps he'll finally be able to move on. But whatever the case is, he's not welcome on my railway.
Thomas felt the sense of guilt within him, but he knew that he was right and had to agree. The Fat Controller ordered that a memorial was held in honouring the memory of the victims who died on the night of Timothy's accident. This gave Thomas comfort, but he still believes that Timothy is still out there, lingering around on the line, but as a warning to others, like he used to, and that his inner demon was gone forever, and that he had found peace and could move on and rest in peace with the people that he took with him. Percy is still frightened about him and doesn't talk about his series of encounters with Timothy to anyone. His driver never mentioned the story and kept it locked away in his mind. Toby, on the other hand, thinks that over time, the ghost of Timothy will become a distant memory, while still believing that he was once a kind and really useful engine like Thomas. The legendary and untold story of Timothy was not told as much like it used to, but still, many people who enjoyed ghost stories would bring up the subject and give their own twists about how the accident took place. Many versions of the story, along with rumours and theories, have always been told about how Timothy met his terrible demise, but no one will ever know exactly why he committed such a terrible act in taking his own life. Some railwaymen say that he has finally let go and moved on. Some say he appears in his old form as a kind and friendly ghost engine, remembering about the positive times he had in his life, while others believe that when the sound of an owl hoots and the mist rolls in, the sound of his whistle is heard and he appears, haunting the viaduct and the line, plunging into the darkness, forever refusing to leave.
What's with the long face, Thomas?
It's about Timothy. After everything I've been through with him, I can't help but think that this is not the end between us.
Don't worry, old boy. You must have found some inner peace after you put him in his place. Even thought what we did was wrong. We have no choice but to.
I know. But then again, I wonder if Timothy will return to his old self.
Just you wait, Thomas. I'll be back. Even if I have to wait an entire